testing. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وبعد. This is the I think 15th broadcast from the broadcasts of the book حل العقدة في شرح العمدة حل العقدة في شرح العمدة, which is an explanation of Umdatul Ahkam. Umdatul Ahkam is by Ibn Qudama al-Maqdisi rahimahullah ta'ala, and this explanation is by Sheikh Abdul Aziz ibn Abdullahi al-Rajhi hafidhahullah ta'ala, who is formerly an instructor and I believe dean of the section of Aqidah in Jami'atul Imam, retired dean I believe. So we're still in the Kitab al-Tahara, the book of Tahara, what's called the book. And inside this book is the section of Tahara. Inside the section of Tahara, we're now in the subsection of the Babul Masah al-Khuffain, and I put wiping over the socks in the description simply because socks are more prevalent. And the khuffain are actually not socks. I believe they are the things that you wear over your feet. They're made of leather. But this ruling applies likewise to socks, as we're going to get to, inshallah. As we're going to get to. So jumping right in, the Sheikh, he has a bit of an introduction. The Shaykh Hafidhullah Ta'ala, he has an introduction. The author, he said, Babul Mashi al-Khuffain. The author, he says, the section about wiping over the socks and what have you. The Shaykh, he says, Al-Mashu al-Khuffaini min al-Masail al-Azimati. Wiping over the khuffain, socks and otherwise, the Shaykh, he says, this is one of the great issues. This is one of the great issues. The Sheikh, he says, this is one of the great issues, right? وهي مما يعتقدها عن السنة والجماعة, and this is an issue that Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah believe. They believe this issue. And the Sheikh, he mentions in his footnotes that Al-Imam Ibn Abdul Barr Al-Andalusi, from Andalus, the great Imam, the great Imam of the Maliki madhab. He's the one that wrote, he has great books explaining the Muwatta of Imam Malik, like Al-Istidhkar and At-Tamheed. And both of Al-Istidhkar is like 40 volumes or something like that. It's huge. It's a huge book. And they call him the Muhaqqiq of the madhab of Al-Imam Malik. The Muhaqqiq of that madhab, the great researcher and quantifier and qualifier of that madhab. They also refer to his era as the era of Ibn Abdul Barr. He was a great Imam of Sunnah, a great scholar in all the sciences. They called him Shaykh al-Islam. And his madhab was the madhab of Imam Malik, except that he wasn't a muqaddid. He wasn't somebody that was upon blind following. He loved Imam Malik like we all do. And that was his madhab. And he wrote huge books. I mean, something like this. Al-Istithkar deals mainly with fiqh. Tamheed deals with the narrations. And then Al-Istithkar, he refers to a Tamheed. They're huge works. Anyway, he was a great Imam, and he was upon Sunnah, and he wasn't Ash'ari, he wasn't Maturidi. No, he was a Imam of Sunnah. He used to affirm the names and attributes without denying them and without saying they mean this or that. Anyway, Imam Malik, he mentioned in his book Al-Istithkar, according to the author, Sheikh Abdul Aziz Al-Raji, he mentions in the footnotes. Al-Imam Ibn Abdul Barr rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentioned in his book Al-Istithkar, he says, وَفِيهِ الْحُكْمُ الْجَلِيلُ, talking about wiping over the socks. He said, contained here is the great ruling which separates between Ahlul Sunnah and Ahlul Bid'ah, which separates between the people of Sunnah, those people that ascribe to the Sunnah, and those people that ascribe to, and those people that are upon nation. وهو المسح على الخفين, and that ruling is the ruling of wiping over the khuffain, the socks, and the khuffain are the leather socks. He says لا ينكره إلا مبتدع خارج عن جماعة المسلمين. He said the only person that denies this ruling, the ruling of wiping over the khuffain, is a deviant person, a heretic that is outside of the group of the Muslims. طيب. The Sheikh Hafidhullah Ta'ala, he says, فَإِنَّ مَذْهَبْ إِنَّ Sheikh Abdul Aziz Al-Rajihi, he says, فَإِنَّ مَذْهَبَهُم, their madhab, أَنَّ الْمُسْلِمَ, that the Muslim, إِذَا لَبِسَ الْخُفَّيْنِ عَلَى الطَّهَارَةٍ, if he wears the socks, if he wears the khuffain or the socks or other than them, right, after having made tahara, he makes wudu, and then he wears the socks or the khuffain and so on and so forth. وَاكْتَمَلَتِ الشُّرُوطِ, the conditions are met. يَمْسَحُ عَلَيْهَا, he wipes over them. He, as we're going to get to, he has water on his hands and he wipes over the top of them. وَإِذَا كَانَتِ الرِّجْلَانِ مَكْشُوفَتَانِ فَلْيَغْسِلْهُمَا, and if the feet are uncovered, then he washes them. This is the way of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the people of Sunnah, the people that ascribe to the madhab of the Salaf, the Ahlul Hadith, right? And they're known by different names. The people of Hadith, Ahlul Sunnah, Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, Ahlul Hadith, Ahlul Athar, right? He says, وَخَالَفَ فِي ذَلِكَ الرَّافِضَةُ, the Rafidah, the Shia, they oppose Ahlul Sunnah in this issue. فَأَنْكَرُوا الْمَسْحَ عَلَى الْخُفَّيْنِ, they denied wiping over the khuffain. وَقَالُوا إِنَّهُ يَجِبُ عَلَى مَنْ يَلْبِسُ الْخُفَّيْنِ أَنْ يَخْلَعَهُمَا, they said it is obligatory upon the person who has the khuffain, two khuffain on his feet, socks or leather socks, so on and so forth. It's obligatory on him to remove them. وأن يمسح ظهور القدمين, and that he removes the socks and he wipes the top of his feet. He wipes the top of his feet. وأنكروا غسل الرجلين, they denied wiping on, or they denied washing the feet. They denied washing the feet as well. فقالوا إنه إن كانت الرجلان مكشوفتان, they said if an individual's feet are uncovered, فإنهما تمسحان على ظهر القدمين, they are to the top of the feet are إلى مجمع الساق, إلى مجتمع الساق, up to where they meet the shins. Right. He says, وهم يفسرون الكعبين فيقولون, he said they explain the Ka'bayn by saying, في كل رجل كعب واحد, every foot has one ka'b, every foot one ka'b. The ka'b is the ankle, the bone that sticks out on both sides of the ankle. That's the ka'b, right? So they say the ka'b is the bone that sticks out. They say it's only one ka'b. He says, إذا كان عليه خفان وجب خلعهما وغسل ظاهر القدمين. They say if an individual has on khuffain, the khuffain, it's obligatory upon him to remove the khuffain. It's obligatory upon him to remove the khuffain and to wipe over the top of his feet. طيب, he says وإذا كانت مكشوفة إذا كانتا مكشوفتان, they say the Shia, they say وإذا كانتا مكشوفتين, if the 2 feet are uncovered, فلا يغسلهما وإنما يمسحهما. The individual does not wash his feet, the whole entire foot up to the bones. They say he simply wipes them, wipes over the top, right? واستدلوا, the Sheikh, he says, they use as a proof the jar and the ayah, the reading of the verse where Allah Ta'ala mentions Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, O you who believe, إذا قمتم إلى الصلاة, when you're about to pray, when you want to pray, فاغسلوا وجوهكم, wash your faces, وأيديكم, and your hands, إلى المرافق, to your elbows, وامسحوا برؤوسكم, wipe your heads, وامسحوا برؤوسكم, wipe on your heads with water, وأرجلكم إلى الكعبين, وأرجلكم, and this goes back to wash the feet to the 2 ankles. The Sheikh, there's another reading where it says وامسحوا برؤوسكم رؤوسكم وأرجلكم أرجلكم, right? The verse, if you وأرجلكم, right? We're gonna get to that in detail. So the one that says وأرجلكم أرجلكم li, with the li, likum, أرجلكم معطوف على رؤوسكم, they say that this is معطوف. This is it takes the same, it's likum because the word ru'us, heads, right, is also have this ru'usi, sikum, likum, ru'usikum, arjulikum, right? They say it is what's called ma'tuf in the Arabic language. Ala ru'usikum wa ru'us mamsuha, and the head, because you wipe off the head. So since it's mentioned after the head, that's the meaning of ma'tuf. It's mentioned after the head, your head. Allah Ta'ala says, wipe your head and then your legs to the 2 ka'bain. They say because it's mentioned after the head, then it takes the same ruling, and it means wipe, that the head is supposed to be wiped and the feet are supposed to be wiped. That's what they say. They say that's the meaning. The Sheikh, he says, أما أهل السنة والجماعة فاستدلوا. أهل السنة والجماعة, they use as proofs. They use as proofs أولا بالسنة. استدلوا أولا. The first thing they use as proof is the sunnah. السنة المتواترة. The sunnah that is mutawatir. طيب. Mutawatir means that groups upon groups upon groups narrated the hadith, or narrated the narration, whatever it may be, to such an extent that it's from different places. Groups upon groups upon groups narrated this. Large groups upon large groups narrated this issue. This, in this particular situation, the hadith about wiping, right? Groups upon groups narrated this from the Messenger of Allah. Group of the companions, huge group of the companions, or large number of the companions, large number of the tabi'in, atba' tabi'in, the Amma after them, the Amma, large groups narrated these ahadith, right? He says, so the first, that's the meaning of mutawatir. The first thing they use as a proof is the sunnah al-mutawatira, the sunnah, the narrations, the hadith that are what's called mutawatira, which means that groups upon groups narrated in such a way that it's impossible for them to have lied. Groups upon groups from different areas, all narrating the same thing. He says, so groups upon groups narrated these hadith about washing and wiping, the state from statements and actions. He says, وَالَّذِينَ نَقَلُوا كَيْفِيَّةَ الْوُضُوءِ عَنِ النَّبِيِّ صلى الله عليه وسلم غُسْلًا وَمَسْحًا وَقَوْلًا وَفِعْلًا, أكثر عددا من الذين نقلوا لفظ الآية بلفظ الجر. He said the number of people who narrated the ahadith about washing the feet and wiping over the feet, the statements of the Messenger of Allah and his actions. The number of people that narrated this wudu of the Messenger of Allah are greater than the number of people who narrated the verse with the jar, with the arju likum, right? And there's a difference when if you have arju likum, that's one meaning. If you have arju lakum, that's a different meaning, right? So it's minute, but it's a difference in meaning, right? So the Sheikh, he says the number of people that narrated the hadith describing the wudu of the Messenger of Allah, washing his feet, wiping on his khufs, his socks and khufs, from his statements and actions. The number of people that narrated these ahadith are more than the number of people who narrated the jar, the likum in the verse. The widespread is arju lakum. That's all. That's what's in the Mus'haf. If you look in the Mus'haf now, you'll find wa arju lakum. But there's another reading that's arju likum. The number of people that narrated the Sunnah are more than the number of people that narrated that. He says, فَلَوْ جَازَ تَطَرُّقُ الْوَهْمِ إِلَيْهِمْ فَفِي جَوَازِهِ فِي نَقْلِ الْآيَةِ أَوْلَى لَكِنَّهُ لَا يَجُوزُ. He said, if it was possible to say that some people that narrated a hadith that is mutawatir or narrated, because the entire Quran is mutawatir. He said, if it was possible to say that these individuals made some kind of mistake, the people who narrated the hadith, he said, then to say that those that narrated the kasra, arjulikum, which is not the one you find in the Mus'haf, he said to say that if it was possible to say that the people who narrated the ahadith about the Prophet making wudu, if it was possible to say that they made a mistake somehow, he said it would be even more possible to say that the people that narrated this particular wording of the ayah made a mistake. Because why? It's more people that narrated the ahadith than there are that narrated this particular recitation of the ayah. Not the ayah in general, not how it is in the Mus'haf. This particular recitation. He says, however, it's not permissible. That's not permissible. The Sheikh, he says that is not permissible. Right? This is the type of argument that the type of and if you're gonna say this, then this you have to say this. It's making people it's making people be consistent in their arguments. You can't say this without saying this, right? It's a type of it's consistency in a debate. طيب, the Sheikh, he says بيان ذلك أن الصحابة كلهم توضؤوا هكذا. He said a clarification is that the clarification of this or of that is that all of the companions made wudu like this. Well, he says من لم يشاهد النبي نقل عمن شاهده. He said whoever did not witness the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم, they narrated from somebody that witnessed it. Right? All of the companions made wudu like this, washing the feet and wiping over the khuffain. He said whoever of them did not see the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they narrated from somebody who did see the Messenger of Allah. Because we know the custom of the companions is that they only narrate from companions. This is a principle in science of hadith. The norm among the companions is that they only narrate from other companions. He says, وَلَيْسَ كُلُّ وَاحِدٌ يَحْفَظُ الْآيَةِ. He said, not all of them memorized the verse. Not all of the companions memorized the verse. Right? Try it. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. He said, not all of them memorized the verse with the jar. Not all of the companions memorized the verse with the jar, arjulikum, right? Because that was an additional recitation. He says, فَالتَّوَاتِرُ فِي نَقْلِ كَيْفِيَةِ الْوُضُوءِ أَكْثَرُ وَأَقْوَى مِنْ تواتر النقل في اللفظ في نقل لفظ الآية فهذا الدليل الأول. He said, and the tawatur, right? The tawatur of the people who narrated the wudu of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is more and stronger than the tawatur of this particular wording of the verse. It's more people, it's more the number of the number of groups, the number of the people in the large groups that narrated the hadith is more and larger and stronger than the number of people who narrated this particular wording. And once again, this is not the wording that you find in the Mus'haf. This is a different wording that you have to find if you read and study and so on and so forth. He says, so this is the first proof. The second proof, Ayatul Ma'idah ala qira'at al-nasb. He said the second proof is the reading of the verse, same verse, with the nasb, or with the arju lakum, right? Lakum, arju lakum. Right? First we were talking about arju likum, arju likum. Now we're talking about arju lakum. The Sheikh, he says the reading of the verse with the nasb. He said the arju lakum with the nasb, arju lakum, follows the aidi. It follows the hands, where Allah Ta'ala says, فَاغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ وَأَيْدِيَكُمْ أيديكم أرجو وجوهكم ها يا هكم يكم وجوهكم أيديكم أرجو لكم. The أرجو لكم follows the أيديكم. It follows the hands and the face. He says in the meaning والمعنى اغسلوا وجوهكم وأيديكم وأرجو لكم. The meaning is wash your faces, your hands, and your feet. Wamsahu bi ru'usikum, and wash, and he says wash your faces like in Allah. He said and wipe your heads, wash your faces, your hands and your feet, and wipe over your heads with water, of course. He says, but Allah Ta'ala mentioned this wamsahu bi ru'usikum. He mentioned this between the ones that you wash. He mentioned the thing that you wipe between those things that you wash to clarify the obligation of the order of the body parts in the wudu. Once again, Allah Ta'ala mentioned the thing that you wipe in between the things that you wash to clarify the obligation of keeping the order of the body parts when you make wudu. The Shaykh, he says, أما قراءة الجر فأجاب أهل السنة عنها بجوابين. He says, so now we back to the likum, arju likum. He said they answer this with two ways. The first one, or two answers. The first one, أنها محمولة على المسح على الخفين. He said the arju likum. He said the understanding is wiping over the khufs. فتكون قراءة النصب عملا بقراءة النصب وإذا كان عليهما خفين. Sorry, he says قراءة النصب محمولة على الغسل الرجلين مكشوفتين. He said with the la arjulakum, he said the meaning is washing the feet that are uncovered. He says فإذا كان الرجلان مكشوفتين تغسلان. When the feet are uncovered, they're washed. They get washed. عملا بقراءة النصب, acting on the verse, acting on the reading that has a fatha la arju lakum arju lakum. He says وإذا كان عليهما خفان, if the person has the leather socks, jawrabani, regular, the socks that we know today as socks, fatumsahani, they're supposed to be wiped. Amalan bi qira'at al-jar, he says acting based on the reading with the jar, arju likum. He says طيب. He says the second answer, atawassu'u fi lafz imsahu. The second answer, he says that they mention the meaning on the statement of Allah Ta'ala, imsahu. He said when Allah Ta'ala mentions wiping over your heads, the meaning is bihi al-mashu al-am alladhi yashmalu al-isala wal-isaba. Right? The meaning is general, right? It it's a general meaning, right? He says فالمسح في اللغة العرب يطلق على الغسل. The word مسح, which is the word in the verse, is used to mean الغسل, washing. ويطلق على إمرار اليد على العضو مبلولة بالماء. He said it's also used to mean wiping the wet hand over a body part. So Allah Ta'ala's statement, وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ, wipe your heads. He said the meaning here, الإصابة إصابة إصابة بإمرار اليد على العضو مبلولة بالماء. He said the meaning here is that you wipe your wet hands over your head. He says وَامْسَحُوا بِأَرْجُلِكُمْ, and when it refers to أرجلكم, the meaning is getting water all over the foot, getting water all over the foot, right? He says, as the Arabs say, تمسحت للصلاة. I تمسحت. It's the same root word, مسح. تمسحت للصلاة, right? تمسحت للصلاة, right? I made wudu for prayer. He says, والحكمة في مجيء امسحوا في الرجلين التنبيه على أنه ينبغي قلة الصبر. He said, and the benefit of mentioning imsahu, we talking about the wording of the ayah that has a kasra, likum, arjulikum. He said the wisdom in mentioning imsahu, wipe the imsahu with the feet. He said is to basically notify us, right, that is suitable that we not use a lot of water when washing the feet, because being wasteful is what people are normally wasteful. So this is to notify us that we shouldn't be wasteful. He says فالمقصود أن الرافضة ليس لهم حجة في هذا. He said the point here is that the Rafidha have no proof here. طيب, the Sheikh, he says وقد أجاب الرافضة عن قراءة النصب. He said the Rafidha, they mention about the qira'ah of the nasb, the reading of the verse arjulakum, right, where it refers to wash your feet, the washing your feet, right? We're referring to washing your feet. He says they said فقالوا في قوله تعالى وامسحوا برؤوسكم وأرجلكم, wipe your head and wash your feet. أن أرجل معطوف على محل رؤوس. He said that the arjul, the feet, the mess applies to the feet, but it's just missing the thing that would make it arjulikum, the ba, the harf ba. And people who understand Arabic gonna understand this a little bit better, but it's important that we understand this, inshallah. He says the أن أرجلكم معطوفة على محل رؤوسكم لأن محلها إذا حذفت الباء النصب والتقدير امسحوا رؤوسكم وأرجلكم, right? So they say that basically where Allah Ta'ala says wipe your heads and wash your feet, they say no, it's wipe your heads and your feet. It's just that there's no ba, or there's a ba on the ru'usi, the word ru'usikum, and so on and so forth. Anyway, the Sheikh, he says بأن هذا غير جائز في اللغة. This is not permissible in the Arabic language. لأن العطف على المحل إنما يجوز إذا كان لا يتغير المعنى, right? وهنا يتغير المعنى. He said the point is this stuff that they mention, the condition of it being true is that the meaning can't change, and the way what they're mentioning would change the meaning. لأن الباء للإلصاق, because the باء لأن الباء للإلصاق فيكون معنى قوله وامسحوا برؤوسكم ألصقوا أيديكم شيئا من الماء. He said the meaning is that Allah Ta'ala says put water on your hands and wipe over your heads. Right? So if you take this letter that's there, the meaning would be imrar al-yad ala al-'adl bidun balal. He said if you took this letter, this bi ru'usikum, if you took the b away, it would mean simply wiping over your head with your hands without your hands being warm. He says wipe your heads and wash your feet to the ankle bones. He says the principle والقاعدة أن مقابلة الجمع بالتثنية تقتضي أن لكل رجل كعبين. The verse says wash your your ankles, your feet. Wash your feet to the two ankle bones. Wash your feet to the two ankle bones. The Sheikh, he says the principle is when you have a plural with a dual, feet, two ankle bones. Wash your feet to the two ankle bones. He said the meaning is that every foot has two of these bones. He said whereas the hands, Allah Ta'ala mentions, wash your hands to your elbows, hands, elbows, both plural. He said Allah Ta'ala didn't say wash your hands to your two elbows, hands to elbows. Allah Ta'ala didn't say that. He said, the Sheikh, he says, and when you have a plural, with a plural, the meaning is that every single plural, every single individual of this group has one of that group. So every single arm has one elbow. Whereas with the feet, Allah Ta'ala said, the feet, wash the feet up to the two ankles. You have a plural and a dual, a plural and a dual, double. So it means that every one foot has two ankle bones. Right. He says والقاعدة أن مقابلة الجمع بالجمع تقتضي القسمة آحادا. طيب. He says إذا قابلت الأيدي بالمرافق اقتضى أن يكون في كل يد مرفق. If you juxtapose hands with elbows, the meaning is that every hand or arm to elbows, the meaning is that every arm is going to have one elbow. He says وَلَمْ يَقُلْ هَذَا فِي الرِّجْلَيْنِ. He says Allah Ta'ala didn't say this about the feet. Allah Ta'ala didn't say wash your feet to your ankles or ankle bones. He said wash your feet to your two ankle bones. He says وَلَوْ كَانَتْ الْآيَةِ إِلَى الْكَعَابِ. If the ayah mentioned to the ankle bones, plural, the meaning would be every foot or leg has one ankle bone. فَلَمَّا قَالَ الْكَعْبَيْن. He said when Allah Ta'ala mentions the two ankle bones, the meaning is أن في كل رجل كعبين, that every foot has two ankle bones. وهما العظمتان النائبتان في جانب القدم. He said, and those ankle bones are the two bones that stick out on each side of the foot. Right? He says, وَالرَّافِضَةُ يَقُولُونَ. The Rafida, they say, في كل رجل كعبين. Every foot has one ankle bone. وهو عظم خفي ليس ظاهرا وهو حد المسح. They say it is the bone that is hidden, and it's not, you can't see it, and that's where you're supposed to wipe to. He says وأنكروا أن يكون في كل رجل كعبين. They deny that every foot has two of these ankle bones. The Sheikh he says وهذا باطل. This is falsehood. لأن الكعب معناه البروز والظهور. The word Ka'b means al-dhuhur, al-buruz wal-dhuhur, something that is apparent, and visible. He says, وهذا إنما يكون إنما هو في الكعبين النائبتين عن جانبي القدم. He said, and this only applies to the two bones, the two ankle bones, or the bones that are about the ankle that stick out on both sides. And I'm sure these bones have a proper name, but I just don't know it. Allahu musta'an. He says, ولهذا ذكر العلماء مسألة المسح على الخفين في كتب العقائد للرد على الرافضة. He said, and because of this, the scholars, they mention wiping over the khuffain in the books of Aqidah to refute the Rafida. مع أنها مسألة فقهية فرعية. He said, even though it is an issue of fiqh, it's not an issue of Aqidah, it's an issue of fiqh. He says, ولهذا يقول العلماء في كتب العقائد, because of this, scholars, they say in the books of Aqidah, ونرى المسح على الخفين. We hold it to be correct. We believe in wiping over the socks. Right? He mentions some of the books, Al-I'tiqad by Al-Bayhaqi, Bayan Talbis Al-Jahmiyyah by Al-Tahawi, Al-Sunnah by Al-Marwazi. I believe we're going to come to it in Al-Aqid Al-Wasatiyah, I believe, I'm not sure. He says, وَمَقْصُودُهُمْ مِنْ هَذَا الرَّدْ عَلَى الرَّافِضَةِ. The reason they mention this is to refute the Rafida. Close the doors, please. He says, بارك الله فيكم. وقد ذكر الإمام مسلم رحمه الله تعالى وغيره حديث جرير بن عبد الله أنه بال وتوضأ ومسح على خفيه. He said Imam Muslim and others mentioned the hadith of Jarir ibn Abdullah radiyallahu anhu. ورحم Imam Muslim. Right? He said they mentioned, Imam Muslim and others mentioned the hadith of Jarir ibn Abdullah, that he urinated and made wudu and wiped over his khuffain. He wiped over his feet. He says فقيل له فقال قد رأيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يفعله. I saw the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم do it. This hadith is mentioned in Bukhari and Muslim according to the notes of the author, Sheikh Abdul Aziz al-Raji. He said this hadith is mentioned in Bukhari, Muslim, and other places. He urinated, made wudu, and then at the end of his wudu, he wiped over his 2 feet, his khuffain. He wiped over his khuffain. So they mentioned something to him about it. He says, I saw the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam do it. وَكَانَ يُعْجِبُهُمْ حَدِيث جَرِيرٍ. And they were impressed by the hadith of Jarir. لأن إسلام جرير كان بعد المائدة. He said because the hadith of Jarir, because the Islam of Jarir became Muslim after Surah Al-Ma'idah was revealed. ففيه رد على من قال إن المسح على الخفين منسوخ بآية المائدة. He said, so the fact that he became Muslim after Surah Al-Ma'idah was revealed, and he saw this action from the Messenger of Allah. If he became Muslim after the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if he became Muslim after Surah Al-Ma'idah was revealed, that means he saw the Messenger of Allah do this after Surah Al-Ma'idah was revealed. And Surah Al-Ma'idah is the one with the verse in it. He says this is a refutation, a criticism of those that say, the statement of those that say that the masah, wiping over the 2 khuffain, is abrogated by Surah Al-Ma'idah. He says, and because of this, when Jarir ibn Abdullah was asked about this, he said, did I even become Muslim before Surah Al-Ma'idah? He said, did I become Muslim? Did I even become Muslim before? Did I become Muslim? I only became Muslim after Surah Al-Ma'idah was revealed. I only became Muslim after Surah Al-Ma'idah was revealed. He says, فهذه المسألة ينبغي لطلبة العلم أن يكونوا على بصيرة بها. He said this issue is suitable, it's obligatory or suitable that the student of knowledge should be knowledgeable about this issue. لأن الرافضة لهم معتقد في مسألة المسح على الخفين. He said because the Rafida, they have a belief, they have an aqidah about wiping over the خفين. فهم ينكرون المسح على الخفين بحجة عدم تواتر الأحاديث فيها. He said they criticize the masah على الخفين by saying that the ahadith in it are not mutawatir. They say that the ahadith about the masah على الخفين are not mutawatir. The Sheikh, he says, even though they are in fact mutawatira, which means mutawatir means that the hadith was narrated by groups upon groups upon groups, large groups upon large groups upon large groups. Large groups upon large groups upon large groups, right? From different places, so on and so forth. So he says, they say the Rafida, they have a belief about the mess wiping over the socks and khuffain. They say that it can't be done. It's not permissible. They deny it, and they deny it, and they use as a proof their statement that the ahadith about wiping over the socks are not mutawatir. The Sheikh, he says, but they are. He says even though the ahadith that are mutawatir are few, he says they إذ لم تتعد 14 أو 15. They are not more than 14 or 15 ahadith. والباقي أخبار أحاد. Yeah, and these are different hadith terminologies. Ahad, mutawatir. The ahad is the ahadith that are narrated groups upon groups upon groups, large groups upon large groups upon large groups, right? A large group of the companions narrated this hadith to a large group of the tabi'in, to a large group of the atba' tabi'in, to a large group of the a'imma, to a large group of the a'imma after them, to a large group after them, large groups upon large groups. That's the meaning of mutawatir. Everything other than mutawatir is ahad, right? So as long as it's not mutawatir, it's ahad. So the Sheikh, he says the ahadith that are mutawatir are a few. They're only 14 or 15. The rest of the ahadith in Sahihain and other in Sahih Bukhari, Muslim, and other places, they're ahad, right? He says, and of those ahadith that are mutawatir are the hadith about wiping over the socks, the hadith about the pond of the Messenger of Allah, the hadith about the intercession of the Messenger of Allah on the Day of Judgment, and the hadith, whoever builds a house for Allah, whoever builds a masjid for Allah, right? Wallahu ta'ala a'lam, wallahu ta'ala a'lam wa a'lam. And we're going to end with 2 lines of poetry that mention the hadith, some anyway, of the ahadith that are mutawatira. And these 2 lines are mentioned in some of the explanations of Bukhari, I believe. Bukhari. Anyway, the person, he says, مما تواتر حديث من كذب. مما تواتر حديث من كذب. وبنى الله بيتا واحتسب. ومن بنى الله بيتا واحتسب. مما تواتر حديث من كذب. ومن بنى الله بيتا واحتسب. ورؤية شفاعة والحوض ومسح خفين هذه بعض. Right, so the point is, it mentions the مسح خفين. So alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. May Allah Ta'ala give us success and understanding of our religion, rectify our affairs, help us and aid us and our children, guide us. Barakallahu feekum. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.